All
Yes.
right, thank you.
Yes,
Okay,
it's being recorded.
Thank you. Can I go ahead, or would you like me to just do the introduction again, or let's just move on?
You can go ahead.
All right, thank you. Okay, so right about now, we are getting into this session proper, and I would like to invite Leandro, the Capacity Development Program Officer, to take over. So, Leandro, you have the floor.
Good morning again, Bidemi. Thank you so much for that brilliant presentation. I'm going to talk about the Change the Game Academy programs that we have been running now, WACSI, with other partners. But what is quite interesting about this program is that its ability to help organizations strengthening their resilience and sustainability, especially the financial sustainability element, but also the ability also to mobilize relevant support to influence policy. And we have been running this program since 2018 now, and had the opportunity to roll it out and in Ghana, Sierra Leone, Gambia. Yes. I mean, so far, these are the countries that we have rolled out the program into. And I mean, we are yet to go to Nigeria, and we believe that this will be an opportunity for us to, make this program known to many CSOs in Nigeria, who can also benefit from this initiative and also help them strengthening their resilience and sustainability. So I'm going to talk about the program itself and in terms of context, why these programs and the content of that, the structure of the programs. It has two courses. We have the local fundraising that we also call it domestic resource mobilizations, and the second course is the advocacy for change that we also call it mobilizing support. So these are the two key courses of the programs. I will also end my presentation with some of the results and impact we have had so far, over the past 3 to 4 years for rolling this program out. And also, talked about our role if you want the program in terms of face-to-face, because it's a blended initiative, both online and face-to-face. If you want it face-to-face, what is our role as facilitators of that initiative? So that's, that being said, as the structure of my presentations, I will start right away with the context. To say that, civil society are now a vital force for change in Nigeria and the regions, even across the continent. And in recent years, we have seen an increase in terms of number and influence, and that is mostly due to the democracy wave that we saw in the 1990s, that we have seen a lot of NGOs, associations that came and to the fore to basically also address some of the inefficiency of the market and also the government in terms of improving the living condition of the citizens. So we kind of step in to complement the work of the government, but sometimes also to take charge where government is absent, and it's happened a lot within our context. So by doing that, we have grown in terms of importance, influence, and all that, and we have been known as a sector of its own, and we commonly call it third sector, and have been heavily dependent on external funding from the global north. For the past 3 decades that we have been operating now, most of our funding is from Western countries. And we have noticed, earlier it was helpful, we're getting a lot of funding. However, over the last decade now, we have seen a significant reduction of funding that we commonly term it as donor fatigue. And there are various reasons for that. So we have seen now a kind of nationalism going on, or growing nationalism across Western countries, who believe that they need to focus more on their domestic issues and the well-being of their own communities instead of supporting other countries. And we have also seen that it's also due to, other challenges, priority, shift of priority. We have seen COVID. When COVID happens, a lot of organizations, those founders of foundations, shifted their resources to other issues or to the COVID and limited the ability of organizations that also are working on other key elements. And the other key element that the COVID also revealed to us was also the over dependence on external donors, because when that shift happened within that period, many organizations started to struggle and in terms of continuation of their operations, and some even did lay off staff, and other even had to close down their offices. And that clearly indicated, the level of dependence that we had on external donors. And this was also further confirmed with a research that we conducted within the COVID period and between July to September across the 5 Anglophone West African countries, and Nigeria being part. And that research clearly, came out, documented that over 79% of the organization had no financial reserve at all and could not, continue operations in the face of ceasing of funding from external donors. So basically, this put us in what we will call it a starvation cycles, and that was a title of a beautiful work done by Momenton early this year. And they clearly they show that 50 to 60% of the organizations have what they call it don't have unrestricted funding or reserve equivalent to 1 month annual expenditure. So basically what that means is that if today founders decide that we are not going to give money, our resources due to internal issues, we have about half of organization across our country that will close office down. And all these issues, I talked about this as recent research, but this is not an issue that started last year or 2 years ago. The issue about donor fatigue started about 10 years ago now, and the priority of shift to domestic well-being also started some years ago. So in response to that, we started thinking about the need to have a new approach of development, and whereby community or local community are at the center of that development infrastructure framework, and is not only driven by Western countries. So we need to have a local answer, and the answer should be local. And this video clearly states what we mean by local answer. So I'm going to play the video. I hope the sound comes out.
This world of ours is getting more complicated. In some ways, we're much better connected, but things feel more fragmented too. The challenges we face seem to demand global action. Individuals and communities can feel tiny, powerless. No wonder there is so much anxiety and intolerance. But the truth is that powerful, people-led networks are taking shape, finding their voice, offering new solutions. Some united by place, others by interests and identities, and all by shared values. Ready to change, to fix the world. Not that there's a magic wand. These new networks face big obstacles. Some familiar, some more surprising. Communities often lack power, their voices go unheard, and they face an international development system that often seems designed to undermine rather than to help them. Every year, billions of dollars are spent in aid to help the poor, the vulnerable, the excluded. But how much really changes? Too often, development is something that is done to communities rather than with them or by them. Their problems are identified by experts, and so are the solutions. People become statistics. Donors want to make sure their money is well spent. Fair enough. But the process has become distorted, an industry, out of sync with values like justice and empowerment. So, is there a better way? We think so. Around the world, a new path is being forged, led by new voices, shaped by new ways of working, and challenging the current system to share power and resources more equally. Community philanthropy starts with the premise that every community has resources. Money, yes, but also skills, knowledge, relationships. And when these are brought together, they can develop the most powerful force of all: trust. It's happening all over the world. Local institutions shaped and owned by the people they are designed to serve. Big donors can still play an important role, but as partners, supporters, co-investors. Leveling the playing field. We call it durable development. It comes in many shapes, old and new, learning from each other, building a field of knowledge and support, shifting priorities, shifting focus, shifting power. It's becoming a global movement. Be part of it.
So basically, I mean, and the video summarizes the need for us to have a local answer whereby the citizen community are put at the center of our work or the development infrastructure, those that we are meant to serve or to respond to their needs. And currently, the current system we have is not the case. And we are more, for example, we as an organization, we are more accountable to Western countries, foundation, or NGOs. And this has shown its limitations in terms of sustainability, in terms of the involvement of communities, in terms of ownership, ability of community to scale up some of the intervention when funding ends. So in response to this and the other reason that I've shared earlier, we will embark on the Change the Game Academy programs that basically seek to achieve sustainable social impact. So you can see here, we have the various sectors of our country or society. You have the government that is well represented. You have the private sector here. You have civil society organization, and we as civil society organization, we are the agency of the citizens. And you have at the center here, the citizens who are meant to benefit from our intervention results or outcome of our intervention, basically. So under this program, what we seek to do is to basically strengthening the capacity of civil society organization as agency of citizens to be able, to engage, to mobilize various actors to engage governments, basically hold government accountable at local and national levels. On the second hand, we also want to provide the skills, tools, and knowledge to organizations to be able to meaningfully engage private sector, mobilize resources at local levels from private sector, but also individual needed for our social justice interventions that we have here. And we call these programs the Change the Game. So change the game meaning we want to change the current games whereby all our engagements or resources are mobilized from Western countries. We want to change that traditional game and have a new game where citizens are put at the center of development, those that we are meant to serve. And the program has two main courses, intervention, basically. You have the local fundraising, and you have the mobilizing support that we also call it advocacy for change. And the program started as a classroom training. When we started early, it was only purely classroom, so basically face-to-face interventions. But later on, we noticed that it's for us to reach the wider ecosystem of civil society actors, we needed to also have a blended learning, whereby we also not only rely on face-to-face, but there's also online classroom online training session for actors to benefit from. And this is, basically a short synopsis of the online platform being presented. My colleague will share the link with you on the group so that you can also access the online platform. And the courses online is free. It's free for you to benefit from it at your own pace, from the comfort of your home, of your office. At the end of the day, if you want a certificate, you pay to get that certificate. You pay $20 to get the certificate, but the course itself is free, totally free for all of us. So you have the local fundraising and you have the mobilizing support, both on there. Quite interesting about this platform is that you can see somewhere it's written online courses, classroom courses, but there is also a toolkit sections So we have also provided various toolkits that is useful or relevant for the work of civil society to help you to have more effective or impactful intervention. So you have toolkits about communication, branding, SWOT analysis, crowdfunding, various elements, even board governance and all that. You have more than 40 plus toolkits that is available, template tool that you can also use to strengthen your organizations. So basically the programs in terms of training and is a kind of what we call activity-based intervention. It's very practical. And we are very mindful about the fact that, I mean, different people have different ways of learning. While some of them may be learning through concrete experiences, others may be learning through reflective observations, and some also will be learning through conceptualization, and other they really learn through experimentations. So we make sure that the content, the approach, or the form of the delivery, both online and also face-to-face, reflects all these elements. So you have video, you have activities, you have lecture, you have group work, you have question and answers and all that. With the mini lecture is we do call it mini lecture because there are very few lecturing across the process. We really make it activities based when it comes to the facilitation of these programs. And what is interesting is that apart from the training that we deliver, we are also available, or we do provide coaching, and that is very helpful because what is interesting is that at the end of, for example, the local fundraising, organizations are meant to develop a local fundraising plan, and we do support them to implement that plan. It's also the same for the mobilization support. We also help organizations to develop an advocacy framework. So we also organize some check-in session to see how far they're doing in terms of implementing those actions. So I will now go and maybe delve more into the course content itself. I'll start with the local fundraising course. With, I mean, definition of that, we define it as a deliberate and systematic process of engaging and mobilizing people and organizations to support social change with money. So money is one of the key resources that we are meant to mobilize, but not only money, but also services, goods, knowledge, time, and support that we help organizations to mobilize. I mean, all that. So it's not only about money, financial, I mean, cash, but there are also in-kind resources that is also equally valuable as money. And the interesting fact that we need to stress is also local fundraising is not about begging, harassing, and forcing. It's an art and also a science. So that means that it can be learned. I mean, it also can be taught. So if you learn it, you have the skills, the tools, the knowledge, you can be able to mobilize resources at the local and community levels. The key objective of the courses is basically to address the local fundraising capacity issues facing by organization. So basically strengthen their knowledge and skills to be able to mobilize resources from domestic constituencies and also be able to diversify their resource streams. And when we talked about constituencies, it's not only private sector or companies, which could be the primary target, but also individuals that you can also mobilize from. And also citizens, I mean, broadly speaking. And so another key objective of that is to also empower organizations to rethink resources and engagement with communities. So we believe that by mobilizing the resources, I mean, giving you the knowledge to mobilize resources at community levels, you are more accountable to those communities, and you basically will be championing more the agenda in terms of what you do, and also empower them, have them being much more involved into your interventions. And this is, I mean, the contents of the course, of the local fundraising course. You have, I mean, is a 5 days program, training programs when it's face-to-face. So we start usually with why local fundraising, what is local fundraising. We also do talk about donor mindsets and donor appreciations. You need to know the donor mindset to be able to devise effective tactics to approach them. We also do talk about active listening for donor appreciation. So it's key element of communication, active listening. Now you also have the fundraising cycles, the various elements of the cycle, where to start from and where it ends. And it ends with a case for support, which is a key element of that cycle. The case of support is basically developing a pitching that you are going to present to various people to convince them to basically touch their heart and their mind for them to provide resources for your intervention. So communication is vital and key when it comes to mobilizing resources at local levels. And quite interesting, I was saying earlier that the program is activity-based, and you can see it here. By Thursday, on the 4th day, you start working on your plan, your local fundraising plan. So by the end of the training program, you already have your local fundraising plan well designed and presented. And usually we give 2 or 3 weeks to organization to go and present and share with the larger staff within the organization, get their input to further strengthen the plan before operationalizing it. So that is it for the local fundraising in terms of content. I'm now going to talk about the mobilizing support. So if you have any question, please, you can share them on the comment section. You can also keep them. You will be given the opportunity to ask your questions, and we will definitely address all those questions. The mobilizing support or advocacy for change is the second element of the Change the Game program. So, and what that means? It means to empower, and through that, what we do is to empower organizations, civil society actors, to be able to mobilize critical stakeholders. Is a stakeholder that we call them support, to mobilize those stakeholders to influence policy at local and national levels. And the interesting thing about this program is that it's a kind of deliberate and systematic process. So that means that it needs to be taught well. I mean, well taught process, and in terms of planning, strategizing, and all that. And a key aspect is influencing policy practices and behavior of different targets or stakeholders. So basically, knowing their influence and on the specific issues, their interests and power levels on those issues, and how to work with them and involve them. It's also helped to strengthen citizens, ownership and commitments on various issues. Maybe to give more information about that, to say that it has a core element about human rights-based approach, which is the center of the, basically the mobilizing support. So helping citizens to know their rights as rights holders, and also claim their, basically their right from duty holders. So basically engaging governments to respond to their needs. For example, when there is a need, there is no schools in their communities, and instead of us finding resources from Western country NGO to solve it, we should be able to engage government to address those issues, because it's our right. Right to education is part of the key international covenant that our government are signed to. So government should be able to fulfill its mandate, and a key element of that mandate is to respect the rights of the citizens. So a key element of that is a human right-based approach. And I'm going to play that video, this video that basically summarizes what we mean by the human rights-based approaches.
This is the story of 2 Pacific islands, one big and one small. The people on the small island love their home, but living there did have its difficulties. That's because most of the important facilities like the secondary school, hospital, health center, market, and local government office were located across the water. Getting there was often a challenge, especially for children, the elderly, pregnant women, and people with disabilities. Sometimes it could even be dangerous. One day, a representative from an international agency arrived and called the men in the community together in the community hall. He told them he had just the right solutions to their problems. The men nodded and said thank you, although it wasn't quite what they wanted. The people were patient, but a year later, the bridge had still not been built, and they continue to rely on the small risky boat for transport between the 2 islands. Just when the community was giving up hope, a representative from another agency came over from the Big Island and held a series of community meetings to better understand the community's needs, assets, and skills. She said to achieve lasting and equal development for all, active participation by all groups in the community was essential. She invited every member of the community to voice their needs and ideas. In the meetings, she talked about...
Sorry, I think, oh, sorry, let me start over again. It seems something happened.
This is the story of two Pacific islands, one big and one small. The people on the small island love their home, but living there did have its difficulties. That's because most of the important facilities like the secondary school, hospital, health center, market, and local government office were located across the water. Getting there was often a challenge, especially for children, the elderly, pregnant women, and people with disabilities. Sometimes it could even be dangerous. One day, a representative from an international agency arrived and called the men in the community together in the community hall. He told them he had just the right solutions to their problems. The men nodded and said thank you, although it wasn't quite what they wanted. The people were patient, but a year later, the bridge had still not been built, and they continue to rely on the small risky boat for transport between the two islands. Just when the community was giving up hope, a representative from another agency came over from the Big Island and held a series of community meetings to better understand the community's needs, assets, and skills. She said to achieve lasting and equal development for all, active participation by all groups in the community was essential. She invited every member of the community to voice their needs and ideas. In the meetings, she talked about the community's rights to things like education, healthcare, and adequate standard of
I think there might be some challenges. So basically, I mean, the video was, summarizing what we mean by human rights-based approaches and in terms of participation, and also knowing that is telling the people or informing them that is their right to benefit from the key social services, including right to education, right to health, and so right to security, and so which is now a big things in this part of the world. So it's their right, and they need to know about it and be able to claim those rights. So we need to empower them to claim those rights from the duty holders, who are the government official or government institutions. And I would maybe explain more about the courses to say that what the courses also does is that it tried to also looking at the implementation of existing legislation and policy. What we do most of the time is that we are much more focusing on passing of law, passing of policies, and forgetting about the implementation side of those policies. And so a key component of these courses is also to, basically strengthen the capacity of organizations to engage relevant actors and to follow through in terms of the implementation of various laws and policy. Most of our countries, we have beautiful law and policies, and the key challenge is the implementation of that. So we need to, basically engage governments and for the implementation of these relevant law, policy, and practices. The objective of the courses is to, I've talked about it earlier, to strengthen the ability of the target audience, the organization, to mobilize relevant or require support that will help them to effectively hold duty bearers accountable. So explore different approach of mobilizing support and also understand the context that they are working in. and be able to design relevant strategy that will work within that context. So basically, maybe to summarize that course and the essence of the advocacy for change, that we also call it mobilization support, is to shift the mindset of participating organization from service delivery to more meaningful engagement or advocacy with key institutions or governments at local and national levels. So usually what we mean by service delivery is the first graph that you are seeing here. So most of our intervention are around here, the red one. What happened is that we go to a community, there is no school there. So we write a proposals to get funding from external NGO or government to give us funding for us to build those schools, infrastructure in the communities. And by doing that, we forget to primarily engage those who have the responsibility to do that, those who are collecting our taxes and who are collecting our resources, who are meant to provide those basic infrastructure or services to the community. We put them aside. And at the end of the day, there is less accountability engagement because we find a way to address the issue ourselves. And that is also very common, even in our life. Most of the middle class, when public school is not working, they'll send their kids to private schools. When the electricity grid is not working, they'll buy a generator and try to fix that. And by doing that, we are not calling the government on its responsibility to fix those things. And those are our rights. We have the right to get, as citizens, to get these services. And this is where, we bring in the advocacy for change or the mobilization support to strengthen the capacity of stakeholders or citizens to engage the various stakeholders for the intervention that will lead to impactful outcome for the beneficiary. This approach will take longer because influencing policy and all that is a very tedious process. But at the end of the day, is more sustainable in the sense that, for example, we have seen many organizations or communities that NGO or community-based events, us as organization, we build schools there. And as soon as we manage that school for 1 and 2 years, as soon as we leave it, the school is down. There is no resources. We have seen some organizations that have built schools in various communities. And when the bulb is faulty, the community member will come to the organization and say, please, you have to come and fix it. So there is no sense of ownership of the whole process because we basically don't engage the beneficiary meaningfully. We just get resources and do the intervention for them. And so this is what we want to address in terms of ownership, sustainability, and also involvement of citizens, and also the ability to know their rights and claim those rights. That's what we seek to achieve with the advocacy for change. And the course is done and over 8 days period. So it's basically 2 set of courses under the same programs. And you have the 5 days that we call it starter. And that's look at basically problem analysis, identification of the problem, specific problem in the communities. And we have various tools that we use, mind mapping and rich picture and all that. I'm not going into all those details now. The second day, we try to identify possible solutions to the issues. And the third days, we now try to identify the various stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders who we need to engage to make that, to respond to that issues? And who are the beneficiary? How are we empowering the beneficiary to lead that engagement for government or relevant stakeholders to respond to their need? And the fourth day, we try to look at the decision-making framework or process so that they clearly know where to engage and which tool to engage with on that levels. And the last day, for the first 5 days, you have various skills, negotiation skills, and also presentation skills and engagement skills that we have. Now, after that, usually what we do, we give 2 to 3 months to the organization for them to go back and to start implementing their plan. And when they do that, we convene again for 3 days. And the 3 days, we call it perfection skills because it's focused more on key skills that they need to add. The first day, we do what we call it debriefing of what they have done based on what they learned before. And even on that same day, we start talking about the use of law and legal law, how to shift from needs to right, to shift from service delivery or need-based intervention, responding to the need of the citizen, to a right-based approach, whereby we know that it's the right of the citizen to get those schools, their right to get quality health, their right to get quality education, and so on and so forth. And the various legal framework that they can also leverage on for their advocacy, and the messaging, communication channels, and all that. And at the end of the day, we help them fine-tune again their plans for further intervention. So that is it for the content of the advocacy for change. I would like to end with this to say that, I mean, if you're interested, I mean, for the face-to-face interventions, what you may be wondering, what is your role, WACSI, when there is a face-to-face engagement? Our roles means when there is a face-to-face engagement is basically to organize a meeting. We start with a meeting with the leadership of the organizations prior to the training. So it helps us build collective ownership and commitment to the process. Usually we do that half day, and it's mostly virtual for us to save costs. And after that, we conduct learning needs of participating organizations or their representative from the who are coming for the training phase. What are their specific needs? And after that, we can now engage on the delivery or facilitation of the training itself. And in the next stage is the follow-on on the action plan formulation and implementations through coaching, technical assistance, and all that. We also ensure that there is also a knowledge transfer or step-down session. So all those who participate, we follow up to ensure that they have done step-down session within their respective organization. So basically, we coordinate all these follow-on checkup and technical support process. And we end also with documentation of lesson learned and impact into the process. And I mean, doing that. And I think I'm ending, but maybe some of you may be wondering, you have started rolling out this program since 2018. And for example, for the local fundraising, what have been some of the results? And here on this chart, you can have some of few results that we have had, that we have been able to document, because we see have more organizations that are mobilized resources that we are yet to document those ones. So you have organizations that have been able to mobilize about $50,000 within their community. And this organization, when they came for the program, they could, I mean, for them, mobilizing resources at local levels, it was impossible. It will not happen. Are you sure we can mobilize people, give money? Usually, you know, at most our contests, we give for humanitarian intervention. But for social justice, it's always difficult to mobilize resources. But with the tools, knowledge, and techniques, they have been able to mobilize resources, and you have the various organizations, the various amount that they have raised on this graph here. And Nigeria, for example, Nigeria has a very promising and vibrant private sector. So that is a very fertile ground for us to mobilize resources at local levels. And I was reading this morning, your private sector, it can be, I mean, well, the market value is around 50 billion USA dollars. So you can see that that is, I mean, a huge amount of resources that we need to tap into. And some organizations are doing it, CSR intervention that various organizations are doing. So basically, we need to structure those, I mean, giving and all that. We need to help them to direct some of those resources for social justice intervention, good governance, democracy, and all that, so on and so forth. So this is the end of my presentations. I'll give the floor back to Bidemi, but just maybe to also add that based on what we have done, there are also some key critical success factors that came to in play. The first one, we have noticed, for example, that those who have been able or who are successful in terms of mobilizing the resources are organizations that have started doing some work at the community level. So there's that trust between the community and the organization. So they leverage on that trust to mobilize the resources. And we have also noticed that intensive coaching support or technical support is helpful for the organization to reinvent themselves, to be innovative, to be able to mobilize resources and engage various stakeholders. And by also doing that, mobilizing resources at local level, we are also seeing an increased level of local engagement on various policy and programming and so on and so forth. And over to you, Bidemi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leandre. That was quite enlightening. once more, I would like to thank each and every one of us for being here. This is the Change the Game Awareness Academy, Change the Game Academy Awareness webinar. And I would like to also share that we all should turn off our audio so we can have a great sound experience. And if you go through the chat section, you would see that there is a link to a form that we've been asked to fill. I believe that is the participation registration form, so that we can share post-event activities like the recording of this webinar and other interesting updates. Right about now, the floor is open for questions, and Leandra will be happy to answer any of your questions. Meanwhile, going through the chat section, I did find someone asking Leandre when he was speaking. He said, "Hello, sir. You said in person. Is it possible to have it online if one is unable to meet in person?" So I believe it's possible, but Leandre, I would like you to speak to this.
Yes,
Yes, I mean,
it's very possible to have the program online, and my colleague will share the link with you. You can access that, and online is free, totally free. You take it at your own pace, and apart from the training, there are also various toolkits that is also available online for you free. But the interesting thing about the course, online course, some may ask, is there a certificate at the end? I know in this part of the world, we like certificates a lot. But for us, what is more important is the knowledge that you gain from it and how you use it. But if you want certificate, there is a certificate, but you pay to get the certificate about $20 to get the certificate. Otherwise, the course is totally free and it's available online.
Okay, thank you so much. Does anyone else have a question to ask? The floor is open now. I think I can sort of watch the comments, the chat section to see if there are questions. If you would like to speak verbally, please let me know. I think you can you can raise a hand, all right, or use any emoji to draw attention to yourself and you'll be allowed to speak. Anyone? All right. Okay, so Pietro, I see you. Atinuke, I see you. I think we can start with, can someone give me the philanthropy circuits? Can someone give me co-host? I cannot seem to unmute. But Pietro, please unmute yourself and speak and share if you have a question or if you would like to share one or two things.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Pietro Uzochukwu, Chairman Great Child Foundation. I want to thank the organization firstly for a very exciting presentation, a very indigenous presentation, a very dignifying aspect or perspective in fundraising and service delivery for CSOs. Basically, I want to inquire if this training is scheduled to suit, is a bit flexible to accommodate some of us. I'm personally interested to have the training around the Christmas holidays. So I would want to know if you can take it at your own time and pace. And beyond that also, if there are one-on-one or some level of hand-holding between organizations and youth on how to go about some of these things. The data on Nigeria's private sector is very correct, but be that as it may, is not as easy as it may sound. But with that said, we expect that there should be some level of hand-holding from youth so that we can effectively tap into some of these opportunities. Thank you very much once more, really.
All right, thank you, Pietro. Leandro, would you like to speak to?
Sure. Or do you want us, maybe I can take 3 questions at a go to, if that is fine.
Okay, I wanted, because I'm not writing these questions down, so I want to know that you'll be able to, you can remember everything. Okay.
Yes, I wrote them down. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So yes, I think Atinuke, you can speak now. You can ask your question.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Atinke. I'm a volunteer at Correct Connect Africa Foundation. Okay, so my first question is actually based on the link. I clicked on the link for the participation form. So the title of program, is it this program we just had? Is that what you're meant to fill for the title of program? That's the first question.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the second question is based on the mobilizing support. That centers on the human rights-based approach. When the presentation was going on, you mentioned something of if there's an issue or you go to a state or maybe a community that doesn't have school, we have a lot of those kind of communities, and then the regular thing is just write a proposal. That's the one actually like what I grew up knowing, writing a proposal to maybe the government or the local government of that place. But now it's saying you should search for those connected to the issues of the place. How will you go about that? So instead of writing a proposal, do you now go to let's say the heads of the communities to build a school? Like more, I think I need more explanation on that aspect of mobilizing support and the people you're meant to meet, because I think the government is supposed to provide those schools. So when you write proposals to them, are you also meeting the person in charge of doing what they're supposed to do? So yeah,
Okay.
that's my question.
Okay. Leandra, I think that question is more on resource mobilization.
Okay.
So this will be the third person. Asin, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. You can ask a question now.
Okay, thank you so much and good morning, dear all.
Morning.
My name is Asen Bailey from Burkina Faso. I just want to say thank you so much for this brilliant presentation. I was with Ms. Leanda during the year. So my question is resource. Sometimes it is difficult for us in my country to get a support from someone that has the goal of the...
I cannot seem to hear you clearly.
Okay, I said the meaning of the training is, it means that to mobilize our resources in now founding. Now, how, for us, to my understanding, if you go to help a given community, something. But now my question is, how mobilize some resources to raise some funding from the same society? This is the real issue in my country.
Okay, because you were breaking. Leandra, did you get everything that he said?
Yes, I tried to get meaning of what it.
Okay, then, so you can take it away now.
Sure, thank you so much, and thank you so much for this excellent question. The first one's about, I think our colleague Pietro was asking whether I could take the courses during the Christmas break. Yes, the online is available at any time, and you can take it from the comfort of your office room at your own pace. So it's definitely available for all of us. I'm resharing again the link on the chat group that was shared earlier. If you click on that, you can go to the platform and access the courses. And he also talked about, and coaching and technical support. Yes, and if you're available and you're interested, after even you are going through the online way, we are willing to provide you technical support. And if you're in Nigeria, for example, you can maybe feel free to reach out to Philanthropy Secret. They'll connect you to us for us to engage you further on that. But maybe the other key element that I need also to stress is that, and also is also the essence of these presentations, is to first to make you aware of these programs that the online is there for free for you to take. But the face-to-face come with a cost, because if you have to run it, you need to facilitate, you need training room and all that. So what maybe we are expecting from you is that, and you also engage some of your partners, that there is that interesting programs that is run by WACSI in collaboration maybe with Philanthropy that you're interested in. And you would like to run also for some of their local partners, for example, in Nigeria. I think when we come together, it's lesser cost for us, for all of us. And you approach them and they give you the resources and you get in touch with us. We also roll it out for you, and we will definitely do that. And so we have never rolled it out in Nigeria, as I said earlier. But what we also do is that we also look for resources to do that. And we are currently in touch with some partners. We are hoping also by end of 2023, we should be able to roll 2 courses in Nigeria. But the interesting thing is that sometimes when you get those funding from the partners, they will say that we are only targeting our own local partners. So we may not have so much influence about those who attend the course. So it will also be good for you also to take initiative from your end to also secure funding to also benefit from the courses. But the online is free for all of us. The second point, yes, community, how to engage community and all that, that our colleague was asking. What we meant by that is, and yes, it's government who are meant to build the schools to provide those services to the various citizens. And usually traditional, or what we do, or some of us do, I will not say most of us do, is that when we find those challenges, we write proposals, we go and submit to NGOs, foundation from Western country, say that give us resources, we want to build schools in these communities. Instead of engaging the government, the local governor, the federal government, who are collecting our resources, who are meant to provide those schools. So what this course is meant is to build your capacity, build the capacity of the community members to know that it's their right to get those schools. And the government have the obligation to fulfill those rights. So give them the skill to be able to engage government to respond to their needs. So that's what we seek to do with this program. And the last questions, yes, Asem from Burkina, pleasure having you here. The interesting thing is that we also have a partner in Burkina Faso that is rolling out these programs, and I can get in touch with you and put you in touch with them. And your question was, how can we mobilize resources at the local level? And that's a very valid question. And many people have been asking those questions, that will it be possible for us to mobilize resources? Are you sure it's possible? Do we have those resources? And even we as WACSI, when we started, that was also some of our questions. But when we started applying the skills and knowledge, we realized that it's possible. And it's a graph that I have shared with you. People are mobilizing resources at the community level. And some of them, when we meet them, they will even tell us that, Leon, when we are attending the classes or the course, we're sitting there, we're developing the plan, we could not even believe that it will happen. We're just doing for the sake of doing it. But when we went to the community and we started, we said, wow, unbelievable. Because for us, we said this community will have resources if you want to do something. So it's basically bringing community together for them to solve their own issues and so on and so forth. And our hope is that we can tap into the private sector. And Pedro was saying it's not easy and it's never easy. But if you apply the right techniques, skills, knowledge, it may work. It may not work for all of us, but we just need to reinvent ourselves and be innovative in terms of what we have been doing. And that's what I wanted to say on this question, Bideli.
All right, thank you so much, Leandro. Because of time, I'm only going to take one question that I just received from the chat section. And then Emily Ofodile, you can speak after the second presenter so we can wrap up, all that we have for today. So Tommy shares that, she said, thank you so much for this presentation. There is a perception about the NGO space that we have so much money already. This perception really makes it hard at times to raise resources from the people. There are also times when we try to get human resources from the community and they expect you to pay them. These are few challenges I've personally faced in some communities, my organization has worked with. How can we go about changing these mindsets among our communities?
Yes, excellent question. So I think, and that has to do with the relationship that we have with these, actors and community members, as we were saying earlier. We have developed that kind of transactional relationship with them. we get funding, and it's also the framework of the current framework that we have. We get funding from outside Western countries, so we are more accountable to these people. And those that we are meant to serve, they become external agents to the change that we seek to achieve. We go to the community, we invite them, we give them per diem, like we pay for everything that we do. So at the end of the day, they are always expecting you to do that. You don't engage them right from the beginning at the conceptual level, that this is what we want to do. How can we do it? How can we reflect together? What are the kind of resources that we can get? Do you think that we can mobilize the resources? Or can we also get other resources from external foundation that can support? So what we mean by the local fundraising is also that it doesn't mean that we will no longer need resources from Western countries. We will always need that because it's also helpful, but it should complement our existing initiative. That should not be the core of the work that we do. It should not be the center. We should put the community at the center. So when there is an issue, the first point of contact should be the community people. Sit together, reflect. How can we do it? What are the resources that we have? How can you volunteer your time? We may also get some additional from outside that complement that we do that. And when we do that, there's more ownership, sustainability to the process, so that you don't find yourself in the vicious cycle of projectization of grants cycle. When the funding ends, the outcome stop, and driving the community and all that. So basically, we are also responsible for that challenges, and I'm very mindful of that. Thank you. Very good question. Over.
All right, thank you, Leandre. Tommy, I don't know, Tommy, are you still here? Please let us know if, and every other person that asked questions, please let us know if we're able to answer, and you're satisfied with the answers we've given. If not, you can share your thoughts in the chat section. We are going straight into the second session that will be handled by Melissa Simo. Melissa, are you with us? I think you can take over now. Melissa, is Melissa still in this call? Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Good morning, colleagues. So nice to be here today. And thank you so much for joining us for this conversation on alternative funding models. And we'll just pick up right up from where my colleague left us, talking around the Change the Game academic courses, that's local fundraising and then mobilizing support. And we see from the previous presentation that there is a lot that we as CSOs have to do. There's a lot of work that is on ground that we have to do, and we are just presenting methods of better doing that. But for us to engage and for us to do these things, we need to exist. We need to survive. We need to thrive, right? And that's where the issue of sustainability comes in. And the question is, how sustainable are we? So that's the basis for our conversation today on alternative funding models. And I just invite colleagues to quickly share in the chat, what do we understand by the term alternative funding? So when we talk about alternative funding, what is it about? And have we ever heard about it? What's our experience with that? So we'll just pick out a few of your comments in the chat box. Please just share, what do we understand by alternative funding, and have we ever had any experience with that at all? So yes, just waiting for you to engage. Any experience with alternative funding? Okay, while colleagues are coming in and sharing their experience, we will just go right in to share more on this. So the word alternative funding means finding different options to something. So alternative is one or two ways or possibilities of doing something. So we are very familiar with the general typology of applying for donor funding and getting it. That's how we get funding. But we are here to say that there are other ways of getting funding. There are different ways. So hence the word alternative funding. Okay. So we'll just go ahead to talk about alternative funding models. And in this presentation, we will basically be shifting our mindsets from what we generally know. So I'm just embrace ourselves, because we'll be shifting our mindsets from what we generally know funding to be. We'll be understanding the trends around alternative funding within our region. What's already happening? What is going on within our region already? And then we'll be seeing and presenting opportunities for us as CSOs to engage and to engage in this whole conversation around alternative funding, and how we as organizations can build our capacity to harness other funding, alternative funding models. Okay, so I think we have already emphasized the point that we need to rethink how we do business. Because, I mean, within the context of, say, Nigeria, we see there's a lot of uncertainty around us, right? We see next year we have elections in Nigeria. We are still battling with the insecurity. We are still having economic crisis and all those things. Democracy is on the rise. Civil society is getting more relevant. There is work to do. But then we are still within the context of shrinking donor space, shrinking donor activity in our region. The financing the finances that are coming to us are reducing. And so how do we keep ourselves robust? How do we keep our sustainability? So we need to do business basically differently. And why we are emphasizing on the difference is because we don't want organizations to think sustainability just because of survival, but we want organizations to think sustainability because we want to drive an impact that is even bigger than the organizations in which we serve. So, so we are moving towards financial sustainability in Africa. But this conversation is not novel, it's not new, and we just want to give us some background. That it's not new, it's an existing conversation that has been happening. And in 2018, WACSI had this beautiful convening where we convened about 25 organizations from all around Africa, I think Latin America as well. And these organizations basically came together to say, okay, we need to find alternative ways we are already operating in alternative ways of funding. What has worked so far? What has worked? What is it that has worked for us as organizations? And what can we learn from this? So that convening happened in 2018, and it was a shared learning convening on alternative funding for CSOs. And that discussion basically birthed or inspired or was the bedrock for which we are having our conversation around the alternative funding model course, which we'll be talking about later in our presentation. But from this convening, this 3-day convening where organizations came together to just reflect on what have we been doing right in terms of getting other ways of funding. There was the birthing of this guidebook on alternative funding models. So I think my colleague will share in the chat box the guidebook on alternative funding models. This guidebook is a tool that I really encourage organizations to take a keen look at. It contains different models that have worked, and we'll touch a little bit on that in this presentation. The different models that these organizations have worked and the different ways in which they have been able to get funding, the different ways in which they have been able to harness resources away from the traditional donor type funding, and these have worked. So in the guidebook, there is a whole presentation on these different models, a whole lot. I think almost about 12 of them, different presentations on them. And the guidebook goes ahead to recommend what type of organizations are best suited for each of the models, the challenges that you may face if you engage with these models, and the opportunities for you in each of these models. So I encourage you to just get to just click on the link, download the alternative funding model guidebook, and it would really, really, really help shape organizational practice around alternative funding models. So within this guidebook, the organizations that came together were able to have to identify 2 sets of assets that they leverage upon to get funding. And so I just want to also just call our attention to the fact that what we are saying is not too new. We do it, we know it, we are just putting structure to it. It's something that we practice as organizations, but we are encouraging you to put more structure and attention to this, because it it is a way to sustainability. It's a way to keep us relevant in our sector and in Nigeria particularly. So we had with the guidebook said there are two sorts of assets that we can leverage upon. So internal assets, talking about consultancy services within our organization, we have people with expertise that we can leverage on. We can monetize those consultancy services. We can monetize our expertise and raise resources for the organizations. We have asset building, event organization, membership fees, social enterprise. So all of these are touched in the guidebook and in the course. So we're not going to go detail into it, but I'll just pick out asset building. Almost every organization has certain assets, be it chairs, space, and office space that you can give out to rent. You'll be amazed with how much you would make per year if you just give if per month you just give out your office space for rent for maybe 2 days. A particular office space for 2 days, you'll be amazed with how much you would raise in a year. The challenge is sometimes we don't put that in structure. We don't plan for that. We don't make that intentional, so we don't see the results. But then there are also external assets that we are really encouraging organizations to leverage on. For example, microfinance, which is a form of social entrepreneurship. Organizations are doing that increasingly within our sector. Fiscal sponsorship, subsidiary profit making, incubation, private sector funding, social and green bonds, crowdfunding. These are terms that we are hearing, we know, we practice it, and we are encouraging organizations to go into it, invest in building your capacity around this, because it's working in our region and it's the future for sustainability in our region. But now, all these guidebook convenings and the different interventions that we have had across the region also motivated us to say, oh, we need to build the capacity of organizations to be able to engage with these different tools that we're giving, the different methods that we are giving. And so we as WACSI, we developed the Alternative Funding Model online course, which was launched this year in August. So it's actually a new course, and we are loving the feedback that we have had from the participants that have already engaged in this course. It is very dynamic in that it is not just the traditional online course, but then it also has within it live sessions where we actually get participants to come together and have interactions with the participants. So to make sure that we are in touch with you and in touch with your realities as well. The content was well thought of, well developed by a team of experts, and we are engaged. We are encouraging you to sign up for the course. I'm going to show you in the later part of this slide how to actually just engage with this course, how to sign up. It's an online course, and the course was basically designed to raise an awareness in organizations, for organizations to know that there are different ways of getting funding. It's not just donor funding, it's all the other ways that we have been talking about, plus other ways that are obviously discussed in the course. It's all these other ways. There are different ways of funding, and also to just broaden our understanding on sustainability, the whole concept of sustainability, financial sustainability, different types of sustainability, just broaden our concepts on it, because COVID-19 challenged us as CSO within the civic space. It challenged us in knowing that we need to think about sustainability. A lot of organizations went out of business because of COVID-19. That was a global shock. And we don't know what's happening in the coming years. We don't know how many other shocks we will have to meet or encounter. And so we need to brace ourselves and prepare ourselves for sustainability, for our organizations to outlive us and to live the purposes for which they were started in the beginning. And the course also just wants to show best practices that are already existing in the region. There are already practices. Some people are thriving in this. My colleague shared that with local fundraising alone, some organizations have been able to raise almost $50,000. Those are real figures. And that was particularly very challenging for our minds, because we normally think, oh, we don't give within our region, but that is happening, and we want everyone to come on board and just learn that. So you can be all that, you can build your capacity in that through the alternative funding model, the alternative funding model online course. And this is how it looks like. The course looks like on the website. However, I'll demonstrate how you can get yourself registered on that course just in a couple of minutes. So also we want to say, how is WACSI? Because you may be asking yourself, so is it just this that that WACSI is doing to contribute to civil society sustainability? No, we have I think in 2015 we had the state of civil, we published the state of civil society sustainability in Ghana, which was basically just saying answering the question, how sustainable are organizations in Ghana? You know, how sustainable are that? That was right back from 2015. And in partnership with Ghana Foundation in 2018, we had the National Civil Society Sustainability Strategy, which was basically a guideline for how organizations can become sustainable within the Ghana context. And then we have a CSO e-directory, which is just brings an amalgamation of CSOs and their principles and their data to facilitate sharing within the region. And then the Change the Game Academy, which my colleague so brilliantly presented in the slides below. So a lot has been done, a lot has gone into just the conversation on civil society sustainability, and we are hoping that you would engage in this conversation on alternative funding models and just build your capacity around that. So now what should we do now that we know about alternative funding models and what has been happening? What should we do as civil societies in Africa, in Nigeria, to be more financially sustainable? That's the what. What can we do right now? So the first thing is reorient staff and board members' mindsets. So the first, we are encouraging organizations to reorient our mindsets, that it is possible. We need to first know that it is possible to get alternative ways of getting finances. We do it in our personal lives. We can do it as organizations to reorient our minds that there are other ways of getting funding away from donor funding, because that is proven to not be sustainable in the long run. And then we also want to set up robust, agile, and internal accountability and transparency structures and systems. This is very important, especially when we are talking about local fundraising. We need to be accountable. We need to be transparent. One of the questions that came in was the perception earlier today was the perception around organizations thinking that, or communities thinking that organizations already have a lot of money. And it's also a question of accountability and transparency. If you're transparent with organizations, they know, because if you are asking people to mobilize resources or to get resources for a social cause, you have to be accountable to them for every dime spent. And so on our part as organizations, we need to build our accountability, and we need to ensure that we are transparent in our communication at both ends, right? To the people who we are receiving money from, the communities that are donating, and to the communities that are enjoying the services that we are rendering, and developing capacity of staff members in different kinds and competencies. And this just fits into this is what we are talking about, the alternative funding models. Develop your capacity. It's a matter of capacity. Once you believe that there are different ways in which you can mobilize resources, you need to build yourself to say, okay, what is it about consultancy? How do we need to position ourselves? How can we sell this skill? How do we communicate? What skills? How do we position ourselves to be the ones to deliver these resources? So developing our capacity, and that's where we come in with the alternative funding model course. And then we have cultivate a culture of innovation that promotes adaptation and experimentation. This is new, and so we are learning. This is a whole learning phase. And so we need to be flexible to adapt to the learnings that we are having. We have to be flexible to be innovative. We have to think out and say, oh, if we are thinking that it's not only donor funding, it should be other things as well. And so we need to exploit and explore those other things. The reason why we have models is because we have been able to exploit and explore. And so we are engaging and just charging you to innovate and be flexible in adapting the learnings that you have. And then plan for sustainability as a core strategic objective. It's not, sustainability is not just a passive something, it is an active action. It is an active and intentional pursuit. And so we need to plan for it in our core strategic, as a core strategic objective. So those are certain action steps that we can take. But we'll just circling back on the conversation on how exactly do we access the alternative funding model online course in light of building our capacity for these new changes that are happening within the sector. So I'll just basically just take colleagues through how to register on the online platform, and then we'll open it for questions if there are any questions at all. So this is, we would share the link to the online platform in the chat box as well. But once you click on that link, you would arrive at this place. So you need to create a new account. If you are a new user, you need to create a new account here. If you're an old user, you just sign in, and then you would see all this information. If you're a keen reader like me, then you can go through it. But all these are just information that they need to better the use of the platform. And then once you click on those, you'll be led to this page, and you can fill in your information here. I'm not going to do that because I already have an account here, but you fill in your information, and then you can create, you click on create your account. So basically, I just want to emphasize that when this comes to you, when you create your account as such, you would see an email, and the email does not always come with a link. The email asks you to confirm just confirm that you have registered, but it doesn't always come in the form of a link. So if you don't see that, don't panic. Just highlight or copy out the link and place it in a browser where you'll be able to access, right? And then I would now sign in again, basically with my own, I think I'm having just a minute here. So I'll sign in now with my own account, and so that colleagues can see how when you sign into the account, you can have access to the platform. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen again. Perfect. So I think also as a best practice, it's always advisable for you to have your username to be your name, so you don't forget, because the platform asks for your username and your password. So we'll basically, when you come onto the platform, this is how it looks like. We are on the home page. This is what it looks like. And so you'll see this link highlighted in orange here. Please click on it. And when the course you'll basically be welcomed into the course, and then you click on the link, and then you have this dashboard just projected out to you. So if you look here, you have general information about the course, but if you look at where my cursor is, you'll see enroll me in this course. That's in the middle, in the center part of it. Enroll me in this course, right? And then you can easily sign up from there as well. Now, these are you'll see here live sessions. We earlier spoke about live sessions, that we actually have live session with participants and all that. But I would like to also touch on certification. So if you go to the participant expectations part where I clicked here, you would see that we have participant expectation and course certificate. So this course is a 3-month course, and it consists of 12 modules. So the expectation is that participants can go through 1 module per week. And so it gives you ample time to be able to assimilate the material. But if at the end of the course, if the course is free, at the end of the course, if you would want a certificate, then you can pay the meager, the minor sum of $20 to be able to access your certificate. However, there are other conditions that you are supposed to meet to be able to get your certificate. It's actually very merit-based. And so you can go through this. We're not going to go through that now. You can go through this at your convenience and see all the conditions that you need to meet to be able to get your certificate for the alternative funding model course. So the feedback we have had so far is really encouraging, and we are so excited to share this with you. Feel free, explore the course. We would share their email addresses that you can access if you have any challenges with accessing this course at all. So I think I would end my presentation there by just encouraging us as organizations that times are changing and we have to adapt ourselves to the change that is happening within our sector. We really look forward to organizations signing up to this course. We look forward to you engaging with us and building your capacity. And we look forward to having mind-blowing impact stories from you on how you diversified your sources of funding. So thank you so much, and we'll remain here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melissa. That was quite amazing. That was not quite, that was amazing. So at this stage, it's questions and answers. I think there was someone that wanted to ask a question.
Yes, that's Emily.
Yes, yes. Is Emily still in the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, yes, please ask your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melissa and Bidemi. I was going to ask that for the mentoring and the engagement with the executive of organization and all of that, does that cost a fee? And if it is, how much is that?
Okay, thank you, Melissa.
I think that's a question for the first presenter, yes?
Yes.
Yes, it has to do with the face-to-face training. Yes, I mean, it's definitely come with a cost if we have to roll it face-to-face. I will not give a specific figure now. I mean, from the top of my mind, there are many consideration that we need to look at. For example, and if you are doing it in Nigeria, is it Abuja, is it Lagos, and the number of people and all that. So I cannot give a concrete figure, but what I may want to say is that, I mean, if you are interested, we can work together and develop a budget, a comprehensive budget for it to roll it out. But the interesting thing is good if you have several organizations coming together, it's not one organization, so that the cost is not too excessive for one organization to support. Thank you. Over.
All right, thank you so much, Leandre. We have a question from someone. Her name is, I don't know if it's a she or he, Amy Zaro. She is the president, or he is the president of the Federation of Youth for Sustainable Development, FJDD, an NGO that operates in several areas such as the promotion of sexual and reproductive rights, community health, education, environmental protection, empowerment of women and young people. I would like to know the membership procedure with your structure. I don't know. Is Amy here? I do not really understand this question. Does Melissa, Leandre, do you understand?
No, we are, yes, I mean, maybe just to say that we are not a membership organization, and so you don't need to be, I mean, member of WACSI to benefit some of our interventions. So we are not a membership-based organization. We are kind of a hub for civil society organizations in West Africa. And our objective is to strengthen the resilience and sustainability of civil society in the regions.
Okay, Antoinette, you are next, and then we have Atinuke before Pietro. So Antoinette, please, yeah.
Okay, I'm Antoinette Gray from Liberia. Melissa, I understand that if you have a social entrepreneurship, you have to register it, maybe as a sole proprietorship. And I know that NGOs should be not-for-profit. So if you are operating maybe consultancy services with your NGO and assets building or microfinance, do you have to run it with the registered social entrepreneur, or you will do it with the NGO and receive your maybe profit from the consultancy services, or what? Can you please further explain?
I think that's a brilliant question, and I think it goes back to the definition on what we call not for profit, because I mean basically if you're running consultancy services, the finance or the profits or the gains from there is being reinvested into the organization. So even within the context of social entrepreneurship, it falls under civil society, and it's for the sole reason that the profits there are reinvested into the organization. So I'm just trying to stress on the definition of profit here. So profit, not for profit, doesn't mean that gains are not made. It means that the gains are not shared out to shares and partners, etc. So that's the difference. So within the context of that social entrepreneurship within the NGO sector, it is very well, I think it's very, I mean, within the context of selling resources like consultancies to selling your services rather, I think it is very valid to have that. But if you decide to have a structured social entrepreneurship different, you would have to go through the normal registration procedures. I don't know whether that answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Atinuke, you are up, and after Atinuke, Pietro can speak.
Hello again. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. Okay, so this question is on the alternative funding models from Miss Melissa. So you sent a guidebook, right? Yes, for the alternative funding models, and then the online course. Do you need to? I should have put the question. If I'm working with the guidebook, do I still need to do the online course, or the guidebook is not as detailed as the online course? So if I go through the guidebook, then I also have to or need to also go and do the online course, or I can just do one of the, read through one of the two. So that's my question.
Okay, thank you. I think I'll just take two more so I can answer all of that.
All right, Pietro.
Thank you for your question.
Okay, sorry I had to come back again. I was a bit confused, so I needed to get some clarifications. About the last training, alternative funding model, which I still consider to be an extension of the first training, I needed to inquire if the both presenters represent different organizations. And if they're the same organizations, why are the courses not merged as one? Instead of us having to pay $20 a piece for both courses? Because if it's an alternative funding source, I think it's the same thing that the earlier presenter was talking about, though with a different dimension or perspective. But then this could be module 1 or module 2. So we shouldn't be paying like $40 for the same kind of a thing, We are trying to really find a sustainable avenue for local CSOs to leverage on. So I don't think it should be all about what we should pay at the moment, but more of the mentorship and the coaching going forward should be the objective. I think breaking it down or bundling it this way is not really proper, except yet again, there are two different organizations. Please, can you help me make sense with that? Thank you.
All right, Leandre or Melissa.
Let me start with the last question, and Melissa will come in with the first questions. I mean, Pietro, brilliant question. Yes, so there are two separate initiatives. I mean, the local fundraising programs is kind of broad, I mean, in terms of content and approach. So we don't focus on specific model or aspects, which the alternative funding model seek to address. So the alternative funding model, you have 12 distinct and interdependent models. And what is quite interesting is that as organizations, it will be difficult for you to apply all those 12 models based on your structure, your context, and your system operations. So you may have one or two that works within your context or within your organizations. And this, I mean, the online course provide you steps that you need to take to implement those models within your organization. So for example, we have the local fundraising that talked about mobilizing resources at local levels, basically broadly speaking. And the alternative model said that these are 12 different examples that you can use to mobilize resources. I mean, non-traditional way of mobilizing resources. And these are the steps that you need to take for each and every models to do that within your organization. And also learn from all other people who have done it. What are some of the success factors, some of the lessons that they have learned from the process. I don't know if that is helpful to, I mean, in terms of the clarification that you wanted.
It's helpful, but then again, it reinforces what my concerns are. That's why I'm saying yours is a first module, while hers is a second module. So if it's the same organization that is facilitating both trainings, it should be a single course.
Yes. So what is interesting is this, I mean, same organizations, but in terms of the ownership is kind of different. So for the Change the Games, we are a network, we call it alliances. It's an alliance that own it. So we are representing West Africa. We have people representing Europe, people representing Latin America, India, and so on and so forth. So it's a kind of alliance. So and that was the first course that we developed, like 2018 that we will join it. But even before that, around 2015, we started rolling out that process. And along the way, we noticed that gap. That's apart from the fact that it provides you skills and knowledge, we needed to have specific models that people also can refer to. So there is that sense of complementarity that you are talking about, which is very valid and true, but both are kind of distinct in terms of courses. For example, the alternative funding model, we don't do that face-to-face. It's purely online. Meanwhile, they change the game, we do that face-to-face and online. So maybe in the coming years, we can also decide to also do the alternative funding face-to-face, but we are not yet there. We have not developed the content for face-to-face yet. So I mean, that is a kind of difference and complementarity between the two. So this come to complement what we used to have for the Change the Game. It's because we have identified those gaps that we brought in this to also respond to that. So I mean, over to you, Bidemi.
Yeah, Melissa, I think you'd like to answer the previous question.
Yes, please. I think that was from Atinuke. I don't know, but yes, Atinuke. I think they are complementary. I mean, the guidebook is just an aspect. It's like a guide within the course. So they are complementary. You need both actually. The guidebook is just like a teaser into the course. So when you look at the guidebook and you read through it, you would want to know more, and you can know more through the course.
Okay, thank you so much. Was there any other question? Okay, I don't think so. So Clement, you be our last, the last question for today will be from Clement. So Clement, please ask your question and then we can wrap up today's event. Hi, Clement. So we cannot hear you. Maybe you can type in your question in the chat section. Okay. So Clement, we are going to wait for you to put it in the chat section.
You can't hear me.
Okay, we can
Hello?
hear you.
Hello. Okay. Okay. Good day. I really like the presentation. With the online course for non-profits. Actually, the profession require continuous development. Yes, but I'm concerned about the price. The fee, because I've been attending online courses online. So many of them, acumen, youth and development. So many of them, some of them don't charge money. And I think we can reduce the price to do. I'm not really bothered about certificates. What I need is the knowledge. So if instead of $20, why not $10? Since you're doing humanitarian work, because you convert $20 here, is the money might be quite huge to some people that are just starting early stage a non-profit organization. And also, how do you know whether the models can fit into our context here in Nigeria? Because Nigeria is a in fact, we have a different environment. The way we look at fundraising, talking to people, it's quite different. So I don't know whether you've tested it or you did a research that this particular course can fit into our context, into our environments, how applicable, how visible it is, So that's my question. But all the best. Thank you.
All right. So Melissa, you are muted. Are you trying to answer this question?
She's muted. Okay,
yeah,
you want me to go ahead? I don't mind.
Go ahead.
Any of them will.
Okay.
So
Anyway,
what I want to say is that, yes, the course is free. Clement, the course is free, totally free. You don't even pay anything to attend the course. And I like what you said, that you are not interested in certificate. And this is what we also believe in. For us, what is most important is the knowledge that you gain from the process and how you use the knowledge. And that is free. It's totally free. No commitment at all. It's free. Now, at the end of the day, if you said, I want a certificate, maybe to add it to my CV, you need to pay a fee. And what we do is that the fee that you pay for the certificate, the fee that you pay for the certificate is actually, is not to cover your participation in the course. We use that resources to maintain the platform. And for a platform that talked about sustainability, you see that it will make sounds, some ways, if at the end of every year, we have to look for resources to pay to renew the domain, to bring people to maintain the whole platform and all that. So we needed to generate resources that will help us maintain that platform to make it sustainable. So if we don't practice what we preach, there is something fundamentally wrong with that. So that's why we are charging that. And it goes to the maintenance of the platform. Otherwise, it's free and totally free. And we are also hoping that all of you here attending these courses, you are the ambassador or ambassadors of this program, that you also amplify the information and share with your various partners, friends, colleagues, for them also to participate in the course. We want as many we can in terms of participation on those platforms. You can come anytime you want to register and take through. Now, you also asked another very significant question that is also linked to Pietro's question. You were asking whether we have done some research to see if that worked within Nigeria. And that was the essence of the alternative funding model. When we started to change the game, people were asking questions that what are some of the models that we can emulate, that we can refer to see that it has worked. So in response to that, we brought people, Melissa was saying earlier, from all the region of Africa, including even Latin America and all that. So we brought them together. They sat and they shared with us their non-traditional ways of mobilizing resources, of resourcing their initiative. What are some of the things that you do that is different from writing a traditional proposal, getting funding from IGO? And some were saying that what we did was we set up a microfinance. So, and the the revenue from that microfinance feed into the organization. Some say that we set up a subsidiary profit organization, which is different from the non-profit. It has its own board, it has everything. But it's clearly documented that 80% or 50% of the revenue from that come to the organization. Others say that we leverage on our existing asset. For example, we have a big conference room. We rent out for other organizations in the community. They pay for that, they attend the programs, and we take the money and we run for the organization. Some also say that we, for example, leverage on our skills to provide consultancy services to the various organizations, NGOs, UNs, institutions, and all that, and that resources come to the organization. So we document all those experience, practices and models, and we now collate them in the form of various models. So you have two major categories. You have the one that leverage on your internal assets, that Melissa said, and one that leverage on your external assets. So you look at it based on your context, based on the structure of your organization, which one works for you. And that's some of the response that the online course provides you, the step-and-step process that you need to take. And to also tell you that if you are structured this way, this will not work for you. You need to try this rather and all that. So, and so basically, to tell you that this was some of the questions that we're hearing at that time. And we decided to develop this to respond to that, to serve as a model that people can refer to. That's why we call it model. So for you to emulate those models within your context. Thank you, and over.
All right, thank you so much, Leandre. So someone tried signing up to WACSI, and the confirmation email from the system is not coming through. Can anyone just quickly?
Yes, if you have any challenge, we will share with you our email address here. You can reach out to that email address and we will assist you. Sometimes the confirmation email can go to your spam. And it's something that we are also familiar with. So we'll share with you WACSI email address. You can reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to help with, any technical assistance that you need to register on the platform. Sorry, I put info here. Info take S, so it's info with S. Let me correct that quickly on the platform. Thank you. Over to you, Bidemi.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Leandre and Melissa. Thank you all for participating. This webinar was brought to you by the West Africa Civil Society Institute, Change the Game Academy, and Philanthropy Circuit. We've shared links. Very quickly, I would like to share that we should fill out this evaluation form so you can share your experience with us. Please, very quickly, if you can do that, let me know if you've been able to fill the form, if you've been able to access it. Very important before you leave. It will take you less than a minute to fill the evaluation form. When you share your thoughts and experience with us, it helps us get better, in our delivery and for more webinars like this. Also, if you would like to connect with Philanthropy Circuit, you can send us an email at communications@philanthropycircuit.org. We'll be happy to respond to your inquiries. Okay, so someone still needs the link to the course. I'm sharing it again right here. Please fill out the evaluation form as well. Thank you all as you do so. The guidebook, I can also share that link with you all. A moment, please. Okay. All right. With that being said, I'm trying to give everyone a minute or two to fill the evaluation form before we say our final bye. But then again, I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank the entire team at WACSI for their support, for making this happen, for an amazing presentation by both speakers. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Pietro for his questions. I want to thank Tommy. I want to thank Emmanuel. Okay, I'm seeing Annette. I cannot mention everyone here, but those I'm seeing Nancy and Stephen and Moses. It's amazing how you all showed up today. That shows that we really want to impact our society. Please let me know if you filled the evaluation form. You can raise your hand. You can react, by sharing an emoji or something. Tell us how you felt about the webinar. tell us what you think of the webinar and help us get better at what we do. Thank you so much, Isioma, for letting us know. Has anyone else completed the form? Please let us know. 2 minutes, and we'll be done. Thank you so much, Aliyu. Thank you so much, Clement. Blessings, blessings. Thank you, Tommy, for filling out the form. We really love, to hear from our participants. Your feedback, your comments, your thoughts, they mean a lot to us and they help us get better. Thank you so much, Mabel. Thank you so much, Olusegun. Stephen, I see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. On a final note, I would like to say that we are accessible, so you can send us emails and we'll respond. At least under 24 hours, we respond to you. So if you have any more questions, you need more clarity, send us emails and we'll be happy to help out. I'm still checking, going through the chat section to see if anyone has filled the evaluation form. Melissa, are you still with us? Okay. Thank you, Pietro.
Yes,
Thank
please.
you so much. Okay. Well, I wanted to say you should, just tell us briefly how we can engage with WACSI on social media channels while people send their evaluation. Antoinette, thank you. Victor and Atinike, thank you so much for completing the form. So Melissa, you have the floor, and then it's bye.
So I think that's what better suited for our comms team. They are here present. Gideon.
Gideon.
Yeah, social media. Yeah. But in their absence, I mean, you can just type WACSI, West Africa Civil Society Institute, on Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, West Africa Civil Society Institute, and you can, follow us on any of our social media handles.
All right. Thank you so much. So you can connect with Philanthropy Circuit at Philanthropy Circuit on all platforms except Twitter. Twitter, we are known as at Circuit Editor. And then I just shared a link that contains literally every information, and you can catch up with us. You can keep up with us online. We are always open to amplifying events and programs and initiatives. So if you have anyone that seeks to strengthen the sector, please share with us at communications@philanthropycircuit.org. Thank you all so much, and do have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
I feel like I'm going to say a million byes. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much for making it here. Thank you all. What an amazing turn up.
Stand up, please, and say I am free. Don't forget you are welcome home, welcome home. Come with me on this happy trip back to the promised land. All will be happy and gay. Come with me on this happy trip back to the promised land. All will be happy and gay. You've been gone, it's an empty home. Come on back where you really belong. You are always welcome home, welcome home. Come with